Thank you for being here. Today we're going to be talking about something that I hope will help everybody out there really start to open their mind and wonder about the nature of reality, the nature of their perceptions, and really start to get curious about what's happening in their inner universe, what's happening inside of you. One of the major problems that we have as human beings is that we come here looking to change everything that is going on outside of us, all while we are a mess on the inside. The problem is that we're not trained and we're not conditioned to look on the inside. And there are true, valid psychological and emotional reasons for this. When we are children, if we get the sense that our parents don't think that we are good enough, then we try to change. But the ruler by which we change is the outside. So if mommy treats us a certain way, if daddy treats us a certain way, if we get an A on the test, if we are the shining star at the office, if we prove ourselves to someone on the outside and we are able to look into their eyes, we are able to change what we see being reflected back to us in their eyes, then we feel as if we are one with the world. This is a really troubling way to live, yet I believe the world is full of people who are living just this way. If I could only save the whales, if I could get my husband to listen, if I could get my son to stop drinking, if I can get my daughter to divorce her narcissistic husband, if my grandchildren were just nice to me. If we really stop and listen and learn to observe, really take the observer position, become the silent witness. If we really begin to really dive into the way our minds operate, then we would be able to see how our minds are perceiving reality and how our emotions are all caught up in this matrix of dysfunction, because it's not a healthy way to live. It is in opposition to the flow of life. The flow of life accepts all that is. The flow of life is like water. It doesn't say to the salmon, stop trying to swim upstream, you're exhausting yourself and you're just going to die, which is what a lot of codependents do. Stop trying to do drugs, stop trying to drink, stop drinking, stop doing that thing that is causing you to destroy your life. We're fixers. We want to get in there. We want to help you. We need to be needed. We're not like water. We are in resistance to a lot. We are in resistance to our shame. We are in resistance to how other people treat us. We are in resistance to how other people feel about us, what they do with their life. We feel over-responsible for what people do, for their failures, for how they think. We feel responsible for their happiness. We feel responsible for their unhappiness. We are the salmon swimming upstream, and we don't even know it. And if we learn to stop and look and listen, which is what I hope to have been bringing to the world through my work, is to teach people to just stop. You are enough. You are enough. Take a moment to hit the pause button. Understand how your brain works. Understand that your brain has been hijacked by childhood trauma. Understand that the way you see yourself has been distorted by the way people have seen you. And by the way your personal self, your ego self, has perceived how other people perceive you. So we come into this world and we are conditioned to believe that the answer to our happiness, which is what we're all seeking, contentment and love, but many of us are so traumatized in our life that we become jaded. And we have to live in a state of distrust. We don't trust you. We don't trust that the cashier actually made a mistake and it was a legitimate human error. And that's why she withheld $5 from us. It was just a mistake. She was all up in her head. She was busy thinking about her baby, who she had to leave at daycare, who had a fever. It wasn't on purpose. But if you're a traumatized human being, you sort of feel like what's happening to you and the things that happen to you during the day, that happen to everybody, you begin to feel like things are happening on purpose. Sometimes they are, if you're dealing with someone who is malevolent, someone who is highly narcissistic, sociopath or a psychopath, and sometimes they're not. And I would think that most oftentimes they're not, but we don't feel that way. And so things happen to us. We become jaded. We're adult children who have grown up not trusting love. Love hurts. So we hide from love. We even hide from the self. Our ego thinks it's doing the right thing. The ego is not something that needs to die. The ego is that immature part of ourselves. It's like our 6-year-old big sister or big brother that's trying to protect the 1-year-old inside of us. It has to grow. It has to expand. It needs help. It needs consciousness. It needs awareness. It needs its big sister or big brother. It needs the higher self to show up and say, I got this, kid. You can relax. We all need our ego until we can awaken, until we live above the veil of consciousness and we start to understand we are enough. We're stuck in this play. We believe that we have no self-worth and we act that way and we feel that way. And guess what, dear one? How you feel creates what you think. And what you think affects what you do. And what you do becomes your reality. And yet, we have far more control. We just don't know how to tap into it. And that's what I truly hope that my work throughout the years has been able to bring to people who are interested in this work. And so we come into this planet, we come into this body, into this flesh suit, no different than what we do when we send astronauts to the moon and we stick them in a moon suit. We're in these flesh suits and they're full of electricity and it's got this motherboard, this brain, but we don't know how to use it. And we don't know that our emotions and that our perceptions and our observations, our state of consciousness, our state of awareness are what's controlling our reality. We don't know that. And we don't know that our consciousness is something that can expand. We don't know that. We don't know what we don't know. And we're all so stuck in our hubris, reacting to what's happening outside of us, believing every thought that comes through our mind, that very few of us stop to think, what's going on here? What is happening inside of me? Why do I react this way? And is there a doorway? Is there a pathway to a better life? The doorway to a better life exists, but you're not going to find it as long as you keep doing what you're doing. If you want to find the quantum loophole, if you want to find the doorway out, you've got to stop. You've got to be still. You have to go into the silence. You have to start training your mind. And that's what I had to do. And that's what I teach in all of my courses. They're level programs, the 12-week, the masterclass, and soon Soul School, a course in love consciousness. You've got to develop the tenacity to understand you need training. You've got to be humble enough to say, I don't know what I don't know. And I'm willing to put in the time to train my mind, understand perception, understand confirmation bias, understand pain versus pleasure, understand the nature of reality, get from my head to my heart, and from my heart to my spirit, where I can trust this intuition that I feel, and I'm in the flow. But before we do that, and what I do in my work is I point out the potholes. Because what is the point in showing someone the way without them understanding, and if you do this, you're going to come off that path. If you continue to do this, you're going to screw up. You're not going to get where you want to get. It's why we teach our children to look both ways before they cross the street. It's why we teach stranger danger. You can't be nice to everybody. You can't trust everybody. We have to teach ourselves what we're doing wrong so that we can avoid it. It's the pothole analogy. If you don't know that potholes destroy your car and are the reason you get flat tires, you don't know that. There's no consciousness around when I drive my car into that hole, I destroy my car. Your father did it, and your father never said, oh, it was the pothole. He just believed the tires were defective. What do? You grow up, drive right into potholes. There's no consciousness around the pothole is what I need to avoid. And so that's why I like to teach people, avoid this, avoid that, because if you do, now you're armed with information that can help you move forward. So we come into this life experience, right? And we're unaware. So what do we naturally do? I want to change you. I want to fix you. I want to change the world. I think that's what I need to do. I'm not changing what's happening inside of me. I'm in resistance to what's happening outside of me. I am that salmon swimming upstream. I'm in resistance to how hard this struggle is. I can't find the flow because I am literally programmed neurologically and psychologically with the data that I have until this moment. You see, everything changes when your mind gets new data, when your consciousness expands, when your mental field expands, when higher self shows up, higher wisdom shows up, when you do the mental training, when you put in the time, when you get out of your own ego, when you get out of hubris, when you stop trying to change the outside world, then you can start working on the inside world. The outside world is meant to be in flux. So many people are upset about AI, and for a while I was one of them. But I understand that this is a progressive environment we live in, and that with technology, it's just a matter of time. If you look over our shoulders, we once used to walk across fields, and then we developed the wheel, and we started using horses, and then we had buggies, and then there was the car, and then there was the steam, the locomotive, the trains, and then there were airplanes, and now there are lots of cars on the road, our main source of transportation. And now we have electric cars and hybrid cars. It's just a matter of time before our technology continues to progress. What people do with this technology is going to be up to the individuals. And if we look at the pyramid that is on a dollar bill, and if you stick with this field long enough where you begin to understand the nature of reality, the pyramid makes a lot of sense. There are just a few people at the top controlling the people at the bottom. And what I want to do in my lifetime anyway, I don't know about you, but what I want to do is I want to escape that pyramid. I want to be a free thinker. I want to control my thoughts. I want to escape whatever matrix or environmental matrix, geographic matrix, demographic matrix. I want to escape the statistics, and I want to make sure I'm living my life the way I want to live my life, in control of my mind. And for me to do that, I have to give up. I have to give up trying to change what's happening outside of me. I have to find the flow. I have to find surrender. I have to find acceptance of what is. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm this pacifist, that I say, oh, well, this is happening, this terrible thing is happening outside of me. It just means that I take the time to recognize within myself what I can control and what I can't control. It also means that I embrace that life is going to be as painful as it is pleasurable. That when I accept that pain is a part of life, I am in resistance far less. When I accept that some people that I love are going to get sick, they're going to die. We're all going to die. Newsflash. And how we die, we all have to die from something. We either die in our sleep, like Rose from the Titanic, beautiful. I'd like to put my order into the universe and die at a very ripe old age after I've seen now I want to see my grandchildren grow up and get married and be successful and make sure that they have the tools they need to do that. And that's what happens as you age. As you age, you're like, well, I'd like to push that bar a little bit further, please. Now I have a granddaughter. I want to see her grow. I want to know that she has the tools to be successful and to navigate the bumps in the road because they're coming. And I don't know what kind of world she's going to live in 2040 or 2050. But as her wise older grandmother, I'd like to make sure she's got some tools in her shed because I will not physically be here for her forever. But I'm going to try, do my best. So we're all going to exit this world. We just don't know how. And guaranteed some of us will get sick. And so we hedge our bets. We don't drink and drive. Our drinking is minimal. We don't drive under the influence. We make sure that we eat right. We get enough sleep. We drink plenty of water. We hydrate. We're kind to people because the energy we put out comes back. So we don't take hard drugs. We don't do things that are going to impede our body's ability to help us live a long life. We do the best that we can until it's time to transition. If accidents happen. They happen to everyone. It's a big world with lots of people in it. But we embrace whatever it is that happens. When we stand in defiance and say that should not have happened, I should not have this illness. Well, you do. Now what? Are you going to be a salmon that swims upstream? Are you going to take the road where it is far easier for you to heal, which is the path of non-resistance? Are you going to be grateful and gracious towards your doctors and your nurses, and you're going to accept the medication you need to help you heal? Or are you going to just stomp your feet? This shouldn't be happening to me. Oh, this is happening to me. This is happening to me. It really is your choice. It's the fork in the road. And it's a choice a salmon doesn't have, for instance. We have that choice as human beings. I can either accept what's happening or not. And when I am in resistance to what's happening, I have far less energy and far less spiritual power to be able to shift my reality. The choice is always there. The reality is that many of us never knew that choice existed. Well, if you're listening to this, then you're developing an awareness that maybe that choice does exist. And this choice exists for everyone. In any situation, you can stop, you can observe, you can listen, and look for the loophole. One of the loopholes that you can add to your tool belt is gratitude. And I know if someone would have told me in the middle of my divorce, when I was being stalked, when he was cutting up the credit cards, when he was threatening to take my children to Canada because he had family that lived in Canada and I would never see them again. When I was going through this, if someone would have said, be grateful, I would have wanted to pull my hair out. But I get it now. Just that moment of pausing, being grateful for the fact that there was water coming through my faucet. As silly as that sounds, that's just like a salmon turning his left eye or her left eye and saying, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe for the rest of my life, I just kind of want to flow and take it easy. Maybe I want to go against my programming, go against the egoic structure, the societal structure that says every single person should be afraid of every other single person. If you are a Democrat, you should be afraid of Republicans. If you're a Republican, you should be afraid of Democrats. If you are gay, you should be afraid of straight people. If you are a person of color, you should be afraid of white people. If you're white people, if you're Caucasian, you should be afraid of this ethnic group. Stop, stop, stop. The people at the top, they want chaos. A house divided cannot stand alone. And the majority is greater than the minority at the top. We are the majority. The people in the middle are the majority. But we've been taught to believe something that isn't true. It's a matrix, dear one. And when you develop the desire to want to think in a different way, that's when your life is going to change. And so when we stop trying to fix what's happening outside of us, when we just say it is what it is, and I can't change my son, I can't change my daughter, and I can't change my husband, what can I change? I can change me. I can change this idea that I have that the world should act according to Lisa. Everyone should be the way I think they should be. When I recognize and I'm humbled by this idea that everybody is under the veil of consciousness until they're not, and everybody is a product of their programming until they're not, and how that plays out in their life is how they play out. And when I also, the other spiritual tool is accepting that life is both painful and pleasurable, that you are built for both. And grief, for instance, this is an emotion we feel because we have love. It is a natural emotion. And when you say, it's okay that I'm grieving, it's okay that I feel this loss, it's valid, instead of I shouldn't feel this grief, this should have never happened. You see, one is in resistance and one isn't. So the person who has found non-resistance, the person who understands that impermanence is a rule that governs time and space, everything is changing. You are not the same person you were at 1 or 4 or 24. And if you're 34, you certainly won't be the same person at 64. At least I hope not. There's supposed to be this progression, this awakening and this awareness. And if there isn't, then you're somebody who at 64 and 74 who is in great distress, great duress. You are stressed because you've continued to do and think and behave in a way that has never changed, expecting a different result. And we all know what the definition of that is. And I can tell you that there were many times where I felt that I was going insane, looking at someone in my life that I love very much and trying to change his perspective, and then having him tell me that I was crazy, that I was not good enough, that I was a flake, and then thinking, no, I have to change how he sees me. I have to change how he sees me. And then realizing no matter how often I turned myself into a pretzel, no matter how I tried to look good enough and keep the house clean and cook his favorite meals, anytime I tried to talk to him about anything serious, he would take that route. You're crazy. Look how you live. And what did I do as a severely below the veil codependent? I kept trying to change him. How did I try to change him? I tried to change myself. But it was all superficial. I was trying to control his perception of me. It was all about control. If I can control how you thought about me, then I thought the illusion was I was a good person and I could finally relax. And then that would give me the right to feel happy. So my happiness was externalized. It was all about you telling me that I was good enough. So what changed? I finally learned to believe that I was good enough, that I am enough, that I am born of the sky, just like you, just like Oprah. Oprah's not any better than me. Oprah's not any better than you. Obama, not any better than you. Beyonce, not any better than you. Madonna, not any better than you. Think about any person standing. No one is more worthy than you are. What we do with our brain, what we do with our mental field, what we do with our energy, and whether or not we learn how to control our energy is up to us. Some people will commit their life to this work and some people won't. That's not our concern. That's not my concern. My concern is to follow the flow within me, follow the guidance. Teach this work, Lisa, and those who are interested will hear it, and they will use it, and their life will improve. That's all I can do. Believe in my path. I feel that I have the archetype of a teacher, and so I teach. But I also feel that I have the archetype of a caretaker, which has worked against me. But now I've been able to balance the codependent caretaker in me with the teacher. And so now I know that as a teacher, I just teach. I open my mouth, I find ways to share information, and if it resonates with people, great. And if it doesn't, great. I'm not concerned about who listens and who doesn't listen, who hears and who doesn't hear. That's not within my control. What's in my control is to honor my path, to help people understand that they're enough, and to find ways to teach people how to ascend the matrix, how to transcend the past, and give them the tools that they need. Because we need mental tools. We need mental toughness training. Our spirit is waiting for us to connect with it, but we have to get out of the head. And if we're going to get out of the head, which is a maze, then you need instructions. You need a map. And that's what I love providing people who are interested. So I hope that this information that I've just shared today is a piece of the puzzle for you that helps you better understand that the mind is a maze. It's a construct. And yes, it is a construct that's built by the ego, but that's not your fault. It's a construct that's been built with the help of the human brain, and that's not your fault. That's the way human reality is constructed until you learn to escape this matrix and start operating your mind from a place of consciousness, from the observer, not the reactor, from the observer. Dear one, don't come here to change what's happening outside of you. Focus on what's happening inside of you and understand that there's a flow inside of you that your higher self is always in tandem with. And the only reason you're in pain is because you're not in tandem with the flow. You're going against your natural flow. And that's where pain and suffering comes from. So look to change the way you think. Look to change the perceiver. Look to change the lens. And I promise you, I give you my word, that you will find the flow. Accept that everything in life is impermanent. Everything is impermanent. You are impermanent. Accept that your thoughts are impermanent. Your emotions are impermanent. So don't secure yourself to them. Secure yourself to the natural flow of life, which is harmonious, which is love, which is beauty, which is balance, and which is always expansive. Accept that. And learn to be non-resistant to what is. Learn to be non-resistant. Learn to accept that pleasure and pain, the balance of pleasure and pain, are how you find the flow. Namaste, until next time. And if you're interested in how you can escape the matrix, visit www.lisaaromano.com. You can also email me at coach@lisaaromano.com to find out more about personal coaching sessions and online courses where you get to interface with other people interested in this work as well. Namaste, dear ones, until next time. And remember, you are enough. Bye for now.